The brain is wider than the sky. A quote by Emily Dixon. A very warm good morning and a hearty welcome to all for the first expert lecture of the academic year titled Forensic Psychological Investigation Tools. Prayer is the key that unlocks all the storehouses of God's infinite grace and power. With these thoughts, we'll begin this expert lecture by invoking God's blessing. I request the Christo College poet to lead us in a prayer song.
You made the mountains and the sea, measured out the universe, and you made me. Echoes of the voice that called the words to be, reach throughout the ages and now speak to me. You might create a king. You who made the valleys and the skies, displayed your love on far horizons and before my eyes. You who lit the stars and set the dawn in time, call them all by name, and now you whisper mine. You might create a king. And who am I that you are mindful of me? And who am I that you sent your love on me? And who am I that you are mindful of me? And who am I that you sent your love on me? You might create a king.
We are delighted to welcome Dr. Priyanka for the first expert lecture of the academic year. Ma'am, we deem it an honor to have you in our midst. We thank you for accepting our invitation. We welcome you, ma'am. I also take this opportunity to acknowledge the management panel of Vishnu Jayanti College, Bangalore, led by Principal Dr. Agustin George and Vice Principal Father Liberty Thomas, who have always led by example and ensured to provide a proactive and vibrant environment for students to learn. I also welcome the Dean, Faculty of Sciences, Dr. Callister Jude, and Mr. Don Callo, Coordinator of the Department of Forensic Science, to this session. Welcome, sir. I also welcome the faculty members of the department and thank them for their hard work and dedication towards everyday progress in this department. Welcome, ma'am and sir. I also specially welcome the participants, our dear students of fourth semester, BSc Forensic Science. We hope this session will enlighten you and provide you deeper insights in the field of forensic psychology. Welcome, all of you. Now, without further ado, I request Dr. Sujita Rawat, Assistant Professor, to introduce the chief guest for today's lecture.
Thank you, ma'am. It is a privilege for me to introduce to the audience a prolific and resourceful personality. Dr. Priyanka Kacker is a well-known academician and researcher. Ma'am holds MA in Clinical Psychology, PG Diploma in Clinical and Applied Hypnosis, PhD and PG Diploma in Cyber Law and Cyber Forensic. Ma'am also holds license in forensic psychological investigation techniques like polygraph, brain electrical oscillation signature, layered voice analysis, and suspect detection system. Ma'am was awarded with Maharaja Shayaji Rao University Research Scholarship and Gujarat University Scholarship during her graduation and post-graduation studies. Ma'am has received many honors like Incredible Academia of India from Record Owner Home of World, GRAP's Best Young Scientist Award 2021, Education Excellence Award 2021, Global Faculty Award 2020 by AKS Education, and Best Young Faculty Award at International Forensic Science and Criminal Investigation Summit 2020, to mention a couple. Ma'am has over a decade of experience instructing at many famous academic institutions like MS University, Baroda. At present, ma'am is working as Senior Assistant Professor, School of Forensic Psychology, National Forensic Science University, Gandhinagar. Ma'am has guided 46 masters and MPhil dissertation and is currently guiding 4 research scholars in their PhD work. Ma'am is also actively involved in consultancy work, handling anti-corruption cases interrogation at School of Forensic Psychology, NFSU. Ma'am, research interest is in states of consciousness and remembrance, hypnotic trance and effects of brain using bios, forensic application of hypnosis, EEG, ERP-based forensic psychological investigation, neurofeedback and creativity, social conditioning and cognitive enhancement in children, microexpression and its relationship to deception, early detection, intervention, and rehabilitation of dementia, juvenile and prison rehabilitation. Ma'am has undertaken 4 national projects funded by eminent national bodies like BPRD, ICSSR, UGC with budget up to 15 lakhs at the capacity of principal investigator and co-investigator. In numerous national and international conferences, Ma'am has presented research findings. Ma'am has published over 83 research articles in peer-reviewed national and international journals and has also authored 17 book chapters. With this reputed career, we feel it an honor to have Madam in our midst to address the first expert lecture of this academic year. Now, I request Ma'am to address the gathering.
Thank you, ma'am. It was such an elaborated introduction that I was also thinking that that now it's enough and we should start with our lecture. And I'm happy that this is the first lecture, so I'll try my best to give maximum from my side to understand what is forensic psychology and how forensic psychological investigation techniques can be helpful for students of your college. So I thank you. First of all, I thank Suchita ma'am for giving me an opportunity to introduce myself and to get to know your students from your college. Is my screen visible? PPT?
Yes, ma'am, it's loading.
Is it visible now?
Yes, yes.
And changing also?
It's working, ma'am. It's working.
I was told that the students are from forensic psychology. They have a paper on forensic psychology. So I'm assuming that they know the basic difference between the forensic science and forensic psychology. So just to brush you the basic idea between forensic science and forensic psychology. Forensic science basically deals with the application of science-related aspects, physics, chemistry, biology, toxicology, in terms of understanding the physical evidences. Like if there is a hair strand, then how to investigate that to understand that the hair has certain DNA which belongs to a particular person. But there are chances that these physical evidences are not able to give us a better idea that though the physical evidence belong to a particular person, we can consider
Excuse me, ma'am. I think we lost our connection.
yes, I lost connection.
Yeah.
My screen is visible now.
No, 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 ma'am. You'll have to share again.
I have to share again. So how to find out that the suspect who is under scrutiny, whom the physical evidences were found, has actually committed crime? And sometimes these physical evidences are also not available. Like the person might have used a weapon, but then the weapon is not found. Only the dead body is there, or even sometimes the dead body is also missing. Like you have heard in the Shraddha murder case, where the dead body was chopped into different pieces, and the person was trying to hide those body parts. So the entire body was not available with the police. Then how to find out whether the person has committed crime or not? In such conditions, forensic psychology can be of great help. Now, the difference between general psychology and forensic psychology is that forensic psychology is a super specialized branch which deals with all the aspects associated with psychology into legal issues. So anything and everything related to psychology and its application in legal process is considered as forensic psychology. And that is why we take help of various sub branches of psychology like industrial psychologists, counselors, school psychologists, sports psychologists, clinical psychologists. So name the branch of psychology, we use them under forensic psychology. And as part of forensic psychology, we try to understand the causal factors of crime. In every crime situation, there has to be a modus operandi as well as a motive. In order to find out the motive and to prove why the person has committed crime, there has to be a reason of commitment of crime. There has to be a mens rea in front of court, otherwise the court is unable to take action. So for those reasons, forensic psychologists can find out the causal factors and it can be presented in front of court. Apart from finding out the causal factors, we are also involved in counseling process of victims. Even police officers, because officers are undergoing a lot of stress. They are working 24 into 7. So though they are into investigation, though they are into legal setup, but they also have some either psychological, mental health related issues, or sometimes they are unable to deal with the offenders as well as the victims. So we also interfere in teaching them or training them how to deal with such cases. We are also involved in the neuroforensic psychological assessment. For example, why a person has committed crime. The reason is the social cultural factors or the psychological factors, or there is a brain dysfunction that is leading to criminal aspect. For example, in sexual assault or mostly in cases, there are chances that the person is suffering with neuropsychological issues because the person is unable to control his inhibition and he is into excited form and he is committing crime, rape and then followed by murder. We also do the criminal profiling and offender profiling when the suspect is missing or when we have no idea about the person who has committed crime. Forensic psychology tools, especially which I am going to talk today, can be used for the recruitment of police officers, in army profession. It can be used for stress management and dealing with victims. So though the forensic investigation tools that I'm going to discuss today are usually used for the investigation purpose, but we are now bringing it up for the recruitment, stress management, as well as anxiety issues related to employability, for diagnosis as well as the assessment part. We are also involved in the rehabilitation process, like rehabilitation of prisoners, police officers, juveniles, and victims. And the most important aspect that we are dealing with is the psychological investigation techniques. So now I'll start with the techniques that we all are using under forensic psychology. One thing that we need to understand is that these technologies are able to extract information, which we usually consider as truth or
I think again the connection is gone.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Just
I think maybe you can switch off your video. I think maybe that is taking up some bandwidth.
actually, we are in the area where ministers are located. So
Okay.
sometimes when they travel, they use jammers.
Cameras. Okay.
So that affect our internet connection. Okay, so screen is visible. I'm sorry for
No,
this,
no issues. No issues.
technical
Slideshow.
issues. Yes, slideshow. Okay. So as I said that uh, these technologies are used for extraction of information. We call it in terms of that we have find out the truth or we have found the lies or the person is telling lie. But actually there is no such system which can detect lies or which can detect truth. What we can find out is whether the person is trying to manipulate his responses, and that manipulation is actually detected by these systems. In order to use any of these techniques, follow a process. There is a proper standardized procedure of forensic investigation. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Please continue.
My slide is not moving, I suppose.
Ma'am, it's moving now.
Okay. So first of all, both option required to do any investigation technique. Without that, you cannot take up a case. So suppose if you think that you have a family issue, marital issue, and you think that your partner is cheating, in that case, you can your partner to forensic lab. You can ask for any of these technologies to be used for investigation. That is not the case. You have to have a proper case lodged in the police, at police station, and then once FIR is lodged, the case has gone to the court. Then the court gives permission to the forensic lab directly. So we get direct instructions. बार बार इंटरनेट चला जा रहा है. Please wait for a while. I'm trying to connect it through another hotspot so that we don't have any issue now onwards. Just wait for 2 minutes. after court's permission, we go for forensic interview at our lab setup. In a rarest condition, we go to prison or to some other place for taking forensic interview. Otherwise, the entire interview is taken at forensic lab. So in such condition, the subject is brought to the forensic lab and then an appointment is given as per the availability of dates. Once the forensic interview is done and we get to know everything about the case, the photographs, the physical evidences available, then we do the psychological assessment on the subject. This is required for two reasons. One, either the court want report related to their mental status, whether they are mentally sound or not. You must have heard that many crimes has been committed because the person was not mentally sound, mentally stable. And because of that, the crime was committed. Or sometimes people also ask for insanity plea that that time they were very depressive, in depressive mood, so they have committed crime, or they were not in their proper mental state and it was an accident. So there can be multiple reasons, psychological reasons of insanity plea. So in order to understand that aspect also, we do the psychological assessments. Once the person clears the psychological assessment, then we go with the introduction about the investigation tool that we are going to be using on the subject. Who is our subject? The suspect brought for the investigation. Once the introduction about the tool is given, then the consent of the subject is taken before recording. If the subject is not ready to give consent, or he or she is uncomfortable to undergo recording, we cannot administer any of these investigation techniques. So there are two reasons on because of which we cannot go further. One, if the person is not mentally stable, which we can find out through psychological assessment. And second, the person is not ready to give consent. In those two cases, we cannot move ahead. But mostly what happens is, even if the person is hardcore criminal and he knows that he has committed crime, even we know through a forensic interview that he is the one who has committed crime. Most of the time, the person is so confident about his level of telling lie that he or she gives the consent. And once we get the written consent from the subject, we take the subject for investigation. Now, this is the proper standard interview room which we have set up in our university. And here is where we do the anti-corruption cases also. So here you can see that the setup is divided into two sections. One is the interview room and another one is the observation room. The interview room is the room where the subject as well as the investigation officer or the forensic expert sits and do the interview. For the interview, we have already prepared a script of questions which are asked one by one. And as you can see that there is two mic in front of the chairs. So through these mics, we do the audio recording. And if you can see the camera, so there is one camera in front of the subject's chair. And similarly, there is another camera here, which right now in the photograph, it's not visible, but that can also take the videography of the person who is taking interview. So this will help us in understanding that there is no threatening situation created by the investigation officer and the subject is feeling relaxed while giving the interview. So here you can see that the investigation officer is asking questions. There is an assistant who is writing the responses given by the subject. And as you can see the subject's face also when he is giving interview. And you can see the camera over here, which is placed just behind the subject, which can take the videography of the investigative officer also. So everything is audio video recorded. And through observation room, we, the forensic psychology expert, can not only monitor the entire interview, but can also ask questions, if any, required during the interview. So everything that is being done inside this room is being audio video recorded. And that's how we create a video recording, which is submitted to Honorable Court for further investigation if required or for judgment. Right now, we are using this facility only for anti-corruption cases. However, we are now planning to do it for different types of cases, especially the domestic violence case and the sexual assault case, where the victim can give the video recording of the entire interview once, and then repeated interview is not required, and it will not create any trauma for the victim. Next, the tool that we are using is the suspect detection system. It is used for screening purpose. So suppose a person who is carrying drugs at border, he want to cross border, or he is into illegal activity, human trafficking, or any other type of malicious intention, like terrorist related activity, or he or she himself is a terrorist. In that case, SDS is used at border security. It can be used at railway station, bus station, and airport to understand whether the person is carrying any malicious intent or not. As you can see that the system is very compact. There is a laptop, a headset, and a camera facing the subject, and there is a cradle on which the person has kept his palm. Now, this cradle measures the skin response, the sweat response given by the subject when he or she is listening, as well as looking at questions asked to him. In suspect detection system, questions are asked in terms of yes or no, and the person just need to press a mouse. You can see the mouse kept on the near the laptop. So if his answer is yes, he has to click right button, and if his answer is no, then he has to click left button. So all the answers are measured through the skin response given by the subject in terms of how much, what is the intensity of sweating produced by the person. And then the system automatically analyzes responses given by the subject, and it is deceptive or not. And is trying to hide an information, and if he is not deceptive, then he is truthful. Polygraph system, which is known as lie detector. I think most of you know about polygraph system. It has multiple accessories, and there are graphs because of which it is known as polygraph. So these accessories give us the respiration response. You can see the accessory 1, the upper respiration, the lower respiration. There is a BP instrument connected with the subject, and there is a GSR accessory connected with the left hand of the subject, and there is a pad on which the subject is sitting. So on the chair there is a pad, a movement pad, which shows that there is a movement in the person's body when he or she is responding to the questions asked during polygraph system. In polygraph system, the questions are asked in terms of either yes for all the questions or no for all the questions. Different variety of questions are asked, like control, relevant, and irrelevant. Control questions are those for which the person will give neutral response. Irrelevant questions are those which are somewhat related to crime but not exactly related to the crime he has committed. And the relevant questions are those for which the person is directly related to the criminal act. For example, for irrelevant question, have you ever lied in your life? So this is something related to crime, but not exactly related to the crime the person has committed. We all must have said lie in our entire life. We cannot deny that. But on the day of examination, you were cheating, you were carrying chits. So that is the proper relevant question related to the day of crime. In polygraph, when different graphs are created by the person, we compare these graphs with the baseline graph. Now, what are baseline graphs? Baseline graphs are those graphs which are created when the person is asked neutral questions. For example, is your name Suchita? Is your name Shrishti? Are you working at Pristine College? Is this your age? So are you 40 years old? So these are the questions with which the person has actually confirmed the information. So something that is fruitful for him will create a baseline reaction on all these graphs. And when the irrelevant question is asked, that will also give a normal reaction, because he is not trying to tell lie, or he is not trying to manipulate that response. But the moment a relevant question is asked related to crime scene, he or she will try to modify the answer. So that will increase the physiological responses. So whenever there is an urge to tell a lie, the physiological responses increases as compared to the normal anxiety-free responses. Now, this instrument can also be used for understanding the anxiety disorder. So suppose a person is suffering with anxiety disorder and you just want to understand the mental status of an individual through his physiological parameters, you can use this system for your research aspect. Ma'am has mentioned one of my research papers, which was on physiological responses of an individual, which was also based upon the odontology aspect. So what we did using polygraph was we connected the accessory with the jaw muscle of the subject. And whenever he was trying to tell lie, there was an artifact which shows that whenever there was an urge to tell a lie and he was responding a lie response, there was an artifact, and it was a typical artifact shown by the person. So if instead of putting all these accessories, we just put a muscle motor movement accessory below his jawline, that can also help us in detecting lies. So suppose a forensic science student want to use polygraph for detection of the uh, the way the person is responding to the questions, those muscular movements can also be studied using polygraph system. So though polygraph is used by forensic psychology experts, but polygraph can also be used by forensic science expert by doing these type of researches. Next is the layered voice analysis. I would like to say that when we are doing forensic investigation, we are not based upon the physical evidences. We are totally based upon how the subject is responding to questions. Now, what are the type of responses a subject can provide? One is the physiological response, which we are measuring through polygraph. Another type of response given by the subject is the the statement given by the subject. So the statement is given in terms of voice. When a person is trying to tell a lie, there is a voice variation. We usually say that his voice started vibrating when he was answering my question. So that means there is something wrong with the person's response. So those vibrations are being analyzed using layered voice analysis. This can be done in two ways: online recording and offline recording. So suppose on the spot you want to understand that the subject is lying or he is trying to think and create a story, you can get on the spot judgment about his or her statement. You can see on the screen that the screen is showing that the subject is not sure. So for a particular interview, the person was responding to a question, but he was not sure what he is responding. So that means his responses are manipulative in nature and we should probe further. So this can be used as a first step to understand the mental state and emotional makeup of an individual, as well as for the recruitment purpose. So suppose if you want to recruit an employee or recruit a student at the time of admission claims that, yes, I am very hardworking student and I will do this type of research activity, especially the PhD students, PhD scholars, you can get an understanding that the person is actually uh, able to give you the proper response in terms of surety of the voice quality. And the offline recording, like you already have a recorded interview or a phone call recording, and you want to analyze that this person has was truthful towards you or not. For example, usually the students have nowadays multiple relationships, so they want to understand whether their friend is actually telling them truths or there is a deceptive response. So for all these reasons, layered voice analysis can be used. But for investigation purpose, it can be used for um, understanding the level of truth and deception shown by an individual just by analyzing the voice. Here, no accessories is attached. The subject is just asked certain questions, relevant and irrelevant one, and the subject has to respond to these questions. A mic is kept in front of him, and through that mic, the responses get um, analyzed directly. And you can see that there is a type of response given by the person in terms of global reaction, global stress, cognitive stress, emotional stress, thinking level, and SOS value. So these graphs shows us that what is the level of stress when the person is responding to relevant questions as compared to non-relevant questions, irrelevant questions. So suppose if the cognitive stress is high, that means the person is thinking and responding. If a person is manipulative in nature, the person's cognitive stress will be high. If the person is emotional at the time of giving you response, then the emotional stress will be high. So you will get an idea that right now the person is very emotional and we should either terminate or we should ask something which is neutral in nature to reduce his emotional stress. Narcoanalysis is again known to all the forensic science experts. It is a amital interview performed by placing the subject in a reclining position, and amitobarbital is injected intravenously. This is the only invasive technique used for forensic psychological investigation. But due to its invasive nature, it is not being practiced uh, openly and on most of the cases due to human rights issues, and people are not really confident that it has a negative effect on the person's body or not. So though narcoanalysis is being used, but not in a wide spectrum. Here in narcoanalysis, after infusion of the amital, sodium amital, drowsiness is noted in the subject, and in that drowsiness, the subject is asked questions. And it is assumed that during drowsy state, the person is unable to tell lie and he gives the accurate answer. There is no deception when the person is responding in a drowsy state. But there are researchers that says that the answers given in narco state can be manipulated as it can be manipulated in the conscious state when the person is not sleeping. So because of all these controversies, narcoanalysis is not being practiced by most of the forensic psychology experts. It is mostly practiced by psychiatrists. The reason behind is that it also required team of experts. So though forensic psychology expert can ask questions, but the drowsiness induced through the sodium amytal is injection based, which can be given only by an anesthetist and in the presence of a medical officer. So there has to be a team of officers under whose supervision narcoanalysis can be done. It cannot be done alone by a forensic psychology expert. But in order to replace narcoanalysis, forensic hypnosis can be used. It is safer to use, but it can be used um, for retrieving the past memory, lost memory, and mostly used for victims of sexual assault cases in a very close setup. Now, hypnosis is being used in clinical setup, and it's a very well-established technique for therapeutic purpose. But in forensic setup, it is still under consideration whether it can be used, because there are very less number of forensic psychology experts who know how to use for hypnosis for forensic rehabilitation purpose or forensic therapy. So in India, it is yet to be launched on a larger scale, but it can be used for retrieval of memory if the subject is not feeling confident. So boosting up the confidence also, it can be used. Now, there is another system called brain mapping or brain fingerprinting, which is actually used for recognition of certain stimuluses. For example, a person has used weapon. So now that weapon is a knife or a gun or a iron rod. So that information related to the crime scene and related aspects are stored in the person's brain. So here is the point from where we start investigating the brain and its activation also. So up till now, what we were investigating? We were investigating the physiological parameters. We looked at the skin response. We also looked at the voice response. And now we are focusing on the brain activation. So in this particular setup, you can see that the subject is sitting with the head cap, electrodes are attached, and the person is looking at the screen where the stimuluses are presented with the help of an investigative officer. The person is looking at the screen, and if the person recognizes the stimulus, the person has to press right button. And if the person is unable to recognize, then the person has to click the left button. Once this entire process is done, the experimenter or the investigative officer on his screen can see that the person has actually recognized the stimulus or not. If the person has recognized the stimulus, that means it has some relation with the crime scene and the stimulus presented. But in order to get the final result, that what was the level of participation in the criminal act, another system is used, which is brain electrical oscillation signature profiling, where no questions are asked, just some statements are presented, like I know Dr. Suchita. I interacted with her a few days back. I received an email from Dr. Suchita. I also received a call from Dr. Suchita. So these are the statements for which the person just need to sit and listen to these statements, or which we call probes. Now, if the person has actually interacted with Dr. Suchita, the brain will give a positive response. So if you do it on me, for all these probes, my brain will give you positive response because this is what has happened. But if I ask Aishwarya ma'am to give this responses for these probes, she might not give the positive response because in the last few days, she has not interacted with Dr. Suchita and she has not received any mail from Dr. Suchita. Right. So in that case, what is the level of participation in the criminal activity can be measured through BIOS. The positive part about this system is that the subject doesn't have to say or respond. So there is no chance of telling lie. And the subject sits comfortably with the eyes closed. And the only activity that the person has to do is to listen to these probes for which the brain is automatically responding. For example, if I ask you to a peacock, imagine a peacock, you have to tell no. You can say no. But in your brain, the moment I say, don't imagine a peacock, the first thing that comes to your brain is the image of the peacock, right? So same thing happens when a person has committed crime and the probes are given as cues for remembrance. The sensitivity and specificity of this system is very high, and this is made in India product. That is why we are using it extensively in India, and now it has been accepted in abroad also. So this is the advanced technology that we are using for forensic investigation, and it gives us short answer about the involvement of an individual. Now, psychological autopsy, you also heard about psychological autopsy in Sushant's case, Burari case, where 11 people committed suicide. So psychological autopsy, though it is not an tool-based investigation technique, but now we are converting it into tool-based investigation technique by clubbing it with neuroscript. What is neuroscript? I'll come to that. In psychological autopsy, exploration of the death of a person is done by reconstructing what he or she might be thinking before the person has committed suicide. Also, to understand that the person has committed suicide or it's a staged death. So the controversy of Sushant's case is that either he has committed suicide or somebody has instigated him to commit suicide or somebody has murdered him. So in order to understand that, we study the suicide notes, the diaries, and we conduct the interview with family and friends to prepare a psychological autopsy of an individual. Now, these are the traditional techniques that are being used for forensic investigation. But now we have new technologies which we are using with research purpose, with research work to bring it into forensic investigation. As I said that the psychological autopsy is, we are clubbing with handwriting, another system that is neuroscript. You can see on screen that a system is kept. Can you see the screen? Is it visible? Okay. Okay. So you can see that there is a writing pad, there is a pen. So the person who is writing on this writing pad, whatever his handwriting or whatever he or she is writing, that is displayed on the screen. So this morning I woke up fresh and energetic. So this will capture the handwriting pattern as well as the pressure point of the person who is writing his or her script, which can be compared with his diary writing as well as other write-up, even the signatures. So suppose the person is giving false signature or you want to find out the do the document examination, this system can be used for document examination also, as well as to understand the personality profile of an individual. So suppose a person is getting into abnormal psychological personality characteristics, through this system, you can understand the personality profile of an individual. So this is handwriting analysis tool, which is new in India. Another tool which is recently introduced in India is the facial coding and micro expressions analyzer. Now, in this particular system, the subject sits in front of the camera. The camera calibrates the facial expression of the individual, and this particular screen is shown to the researcher, where you can see the various types of micro expressions shown by an individual. These are the aspects. Now, I would read out the aspects like sadness, joy, excitement, blinking rate, eye movement, disgust, depressive expression. So all these expressions are divided into subsections, and these subsections get recorded on this system. The coding is done by the system itself, and in the end, it shows that how the person has reacted to the questions and whether the person's micro expressions are deceptive or not. One can manipulate the body language, not the micro expressions. As you can see that the ministers and politicians maintain smile on their face. They maintain a proper body language as if they are good friends. When they are meeting a political member of other party, they behave as if they are very good with each other. But actually their body language and their micro expressions, if read, it can give us better idea that it was a fake smile or it was a fake manipulated body gesture. So that can be analyzed using facial coding and micro expression analyzer. We also have system which can detect eye movement, pupil dilation and contraction, which helps us in understanding whether the person is telling truth when certain questions are asked. Now, this system can also be used for research purpose to understand the level of deception shown by an individual while writing an examination, while recruitment, to get promotion. For example, if faculty need career advancement promotion, then the person can undergo this type of investigation to get an idea that the person is actually ready to write papers, is actually ready to do research work, or it's just the promise made by the person. And the last tool is visual stress analyzer. You can see that there is a camera which measures the blood flow on the facial aspect. So it is believed that when the person is trying to tell a lie, there is increase or decrease of blood flow in the person's face. So when the relevant question is asked, what is the level of blood flow as compared to irrelevant question, which gives us an idea in terms of deceptive report or a non-deceptive report, and we can understand the level of manipulation done by the individual. This can also be used as an interview technique during interview. So as I said that all these tools can be used for recruitment purpose as well as for rehabilitation purpose, because once we know that the person is suffering with anxiety issue, or the person is scared, or the person has underwent domestic violence or sexual assault case, we can get the proper understanding about the physiological parameters, and we can give better rehabilitation, and we can develop better correctional modules. So any questions? I'm ready to take up. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the reason the final session. If the students have any questions, they can unmute and ask your questions or message in the chat box.
All these systems are available at our university. If you want or if you plan to come to our university for internship or for visit purpose, you are most welcome. We can also think about collaborative researches so as to boost up the research area together. So we are open for any sort of collaboration and relation.
For extending that. Ma'am, there's one question that is there in the chat box. I just quickly read out. For people who practice yoga and meditation, they can calm themselves and help control their speech. Can we distinguish such case in real voice analysis?
Yoga and meditation.
Oh, yes, this is a reference to people who practice it on continuous basis. They do it's considered that they do have a better ability to control their speech. So in that scenario, the layered voice analysis which activating suffice to them.
Yes, yes, we can understand the variation in voice even if they are practicing yoga and meditation, because yoga and meditation are giving you relaxation to the body. But whenever there is an urge to tell a lie, there is always a variation in the voice. That voice relaxation cannot be done through yoga and meditation. You can relax your body parts, you can relax your muscle tension, but not your voice. You are not practicing yoga and meditation to relax your voice. So that changes, and it is not only about the stress shown by an individual, it is also detecting the cognitive level a person is using. So in LVA, lead voice analysis, we are also trying to, we will also get the answer that the person is thinking and responding to your questions. So in that case, you cannot meditate and respond. So both the things cannot be done simultaneously. So something the person has to stop. And there we get an understanding that there is something wrong with the response given by the subject.
One question that the participant has asked, of the various investigative tools that we have discussed, which one is the most accurate and precise? And are these tools work in tandem with each other or only one is work?
Out of all these technologies, brain electrical oscillation signature profiling is the most accurate one, because the research work says that its accuracy is 0.99% out of 1. And it is used in combination with multiple technologies. So we cannot say that only one technology is used and this is the final result. You have to have combination of all these technologies. And when the code is giving us instruction, at that time, it starts with polygraph. So the first technology that is being administered is polygraph. in combination with SDS, LVA, BIOS, or any other technology. Any other question?
Thank you, ma'am, for patiently answering our questions. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. With this thought of Melody Betty in mind, I invite Dr. Suchita Rawat to deliver the vote of thanks. Thank you, ma'am. On this note, I would like to give this opportunity to thank Dr. Priyanka. It is a pleasure to listen to you speak, ma'am. I would also like to express our sincere thanks to you for accepting our invitation and spite of the hectic and jam-packed schedule that we have today. Ma'am, it is very clear that your presentation captivated everyone's attention. We could have not pulled it off without you and your help. Ma'am, your knowledge and experience will teach us much more, and we're also looking forward for some future collaboration. Best wishes for your good health and success in life. I thank you all students for being a great audience, for rotating listening and asking their doubts to make the session interactive. Thank you, dear students. Thank you, one and all. As we have come to the end of the program, I request all of you to join for a college anthem.
Like a golden disc, sun in the rising east, lights up a life divine, fills knowledge in our minds. Laurels and the book make us sublime. With the mighty Lord, we soar high on the bedrock of faith. Integrity of force, human dignity true, excellence we strive. Christu giant delight and prosperity. Christu giant delight and prosperity. Raise the joy and peace, sprawl our hearts and minds. On we march our goals as a beacon for the world, with a passion for our growth and a love for humankind, united and strong in excellence on the bedrock of faith. Integrity of force, human dignity true, excellence we strive. Christu giant delight and prosperity. Christu giant delight and prosperity.
I request the participants to turn on their video for a photo screenshot of the session. A feedback link will be to your WhatsApp, will be sent to your WhatsApp groups. Student participants can fill the feedback form. The link will also be shared in your groups. Request all of you to fill the form without a fail. Feedback form will be shown to all the participants. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Suchita. See you. I hope you will come to Gandhinagar and will with your students and your colleagues, and we'll try to do something in collaboration. Thank you.